Merry Christmas. There is so much hopelessness in our nation right now with all that's going on. I felt impelled to share the hope that we have. And would you believe that I've been meditating on this since the release of the film Us, that in the midst of horror, right, what we're seeing in our nation's capital and around the world, in the midst even of horror, there is hope. It is attested in the biblical text, and I think Jordan Peele intentionally pushed us to consider ourselves in a different way, and whether consciously or subconsciously, he intended what I'm about to share with you. The power of the message that I take from it is undeniable. And so I journaled about the movie, and I'm going to point out some highlights, and then I'm going to push everyone who hears this, watches this video, push all of us to consider what we must be doing, continue doing, or consider doing as a result. So you'll recall that that the movie begins with this appearance at the Vision Quest at the festival, the Go on a Vision Quest. You will recall that that there's this theme of the doppelganger, the dyad, the other half, the hidden version of oneself with Red and Adelaide. That there's this discussion, this talk about this untethering, a day of reckoning, and Adelaide asks Red, "What do you want?" And the response is, "To take our time." Remember that? And then the scissors are a theme throughout the film, representing cutting the tethers. And at one point, Red says they created us to keep control of those on top. Hang with me, because we're talking about not just the film, but about what's happening in our country and in the world. They created us to keep control of those on top. And then notice that when at the middle point of the film and they're watching TV and they see the end of life as they know it, and the father, Gabe, watches what's happening on the news as people from underground start to rise up, and he says, "Oh, shit." And the daughter says, "Don't curse." And the message there, the irony there, the cognitive dissonance there is that in the midst of what is becoming a genocidal event, we're not worried about people starving. We're not worried about people being criminalized. We're not worried about wage theft or fair wages. Don't curse. Make sure you have some rhythm. We saw earlier in the film. Adelaide realizes that what's happening, and she says they won't stop until they kill us or we kill them. And then as they escape, after discovering what actually happened, that she herself was underground and rose up to a place of a bourgeoisie status and forgot who she was and where she came from, she says to her son, things will be the same as before. So she's about to go into a period of forgetting again. And at the very end, right before they escape, Red says, I never stopped thinking about you. Now, Red was the middle-class girl who ended up underground, and Adelaide was the girl from underground. So Red says, I never stopped thinking about you. I always wondered what would have happened if you had taken me with you. And ironically enough, the midpoint, what would have happened if you had taken me with you? That's a question that that a lot of people ask when they see people in places of privilege, forgetting where they came from and being very comfortable in all of the multiple privileges and vacations and material wealth that we hoard, and get mad at when people ask us for things. We're worried about cursing, and we get offended when people ask us for help. And if you know somebody's hungry and struggling, you don't need to wait to ask them for them to ask for help. We need to approach them and say, what help do you need? Right? So at the midpoint, right before the midpoint of the movie, I can't remember who, one of them, I think Adelaide, reads Jeremiah 11:11. And so this is like the hermeneutical midpoint. Behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. Though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. Jeremiah 11:11. And as you know, 11:11 is a very important sign for those of us who are mystics. They will call and I will not answer. So yes, for everyone who's thinking that there is a potential slaughter on the horizon of our creating, yes, there is. And the way to avoid it, I believe, is hinted at in us. What is required is Emile Cabral's class suicide. Emile Cabral's class suicide, where the privileged class untethers itself from its class privilege in order to revolutionize the means of production. I'm speaking now of the theory of a socialist adopted by, if I had to call myself anything in terms of critical theory or revolutionary theory, it'd be a socio-capitalist, that we can create the best from both theories in order to perfect our democracy. So I consider myself a socio-capitalist in that respect, but I'm quoting a socialist, Emile Cabral's. I'm alluding to referencing his theory of class suicide, where it will not be one class that transforms a nation or the world. It will require all classes, and particularly for the revolution of ideas and exchange and sharing of wealth to occur, there must be class suicide among those who are the privileged classes. And the vision quest to find ourselves is what Jordan Peele's story requires and asks of us. It is also what God asks of us at this time of year, when we celebrate the birth of Christ. Because if you read Isaiah, 3rd Isaiah, you'll find some very comforting words. For those who seek me, there will be blessing. For those who worship me, there will be blessing, who remember my instructions. Before they call, 3rd Isaiah says, I will answer. While they are yet speaking, I will hear. So that is just the opposite of Jeremiah 11:11. Before they call, I will answer. And so we hear the word of the Lord in Isaiah 9:6-7. For unto us a child is born, who shook off privilege for us.